And good morning, good afternoon, hello everybody, welcome to Lazy Mini Painting. I am Les, and today we have Combat Patrol issue 42. I've probably named it wrong now in my look. That's what always happens. They even got me out on right. What's going on? It's not right, is it? It's not right. So yes, welcome to Lazy Mini Painting. Thank you everybody who's come to join me today. I have got a desk full of all sorts of things, mostly the prints from the mini tab. I'm just letting the Custode Cavill dry. But yes, today we have issue 42 of Combat Patrol. We do get a Coelia green shade and a Calgar blue. Oh, good morning Twisted, and good morning Graham, good morning Beaky. Thank you all three of you. Cheers. Just gotta do the dice a bit. Removing the plastic. We have a nice magazine now. And we have two paints which I believe we already have. That's a very, I like that pastel blue. That's a nice pastel Calgar blue. I like that one. That is a nice it's a nice pastel blue there for the Calgar blue. And I know I already have some of this because I have some there. And even though this is a smaller tub of it, this is Coelia green shade. I always get that wrong. Now, even though it says green shade, it does look very blue to me, and I've been using it for blue, and it works quite nice. That means that they're going to get you to go over your arc again with that green shade. So part of the painting, if anything, they're going to tell you to go basically go over all these bits you should have gone over because we didn't give you the shade. So that's what we're going to start with, that and the Calgar blue. So let's see, what does it tell us that we're going to get into this? We're going to get a bit of painting, which is update all these models. And we've got a lot of reading today. So we've got Orcs, Power of the War, Technology of the 41st Millennium, and Bonds of Honor, which is part of the story. So again, I don't read the story bits, but please, you should. They're quite enjoyable. Not saying you have to. And then we get some play missions. So we get a couple of core missions, Scorched Earth and Sweeping Raid. We get what looks to be the full Combat Patrol data sheets for all these Combat Patrol information for the Chaos Space Marines, and then examples for battlefields and core rules. So we're getting a fair bit of information in this one. But firstly, it's where we're going to apply this Coelia green shade. Now, as you can see, as I said, it does come kind of bluey green, which is odd. So in this case, I'm going to use it as a wash for all your Orc skin and your Gretchen skin. Good morning, Lee. How you doing? We're going through issue 42 of the Combat Patrol magazine today. And it's telling us where we should apply the Coelia green shade on the models that we've already got. So it says this thing goes all the way back to the Tyranids as well. So all the brainy sections for like the barb gaunts, and on the back of the Psychophage where it's got all the smokestacks. The inside little layer of the Farseer, so you should have an extra little tab going down the inside of his cloak. Then we need to get that with Coelia green shade as well. And that's it, just those. Those are the only ones. So it's quite a big difference going from the white to the now shaded. Not so much of a big difference on the Farseer, but definitely a huge difference when it comes to the Psychophage. And just for the Orcs themselves, you can't see as well on here, but it does add a lot of depth to the skin and fills in all those crevices nicely. You might want to go back over with the Warflesh or whichever colour green you've used and just catch the higher edges just to bring out some of those highlights again. That would be nice. It's a nice easy way of doing it. So the painting section was very quick this time. Very quick. Which means I've got a lot of reading to do. In that case, I'm going to definitely need a drink. Orcs. The Great Green Tide. For many thousands of years, the Orcs have been a great force of destruction in the galaxy, and to this day remain a persistent threat. The number of Orc hordes is beyond counting, and their brutal campaigns are greatly feared by their enemies. The Orcs have been gleefully waging war on all those who cross their paths for as long as they have existed. Although rumoured to have been created as perfect weapons of war, they are now an ungovernable rabble, driven by their warlike instinct and lust for combat. Conflict is never ending for the Orcs, and this is exactly the way they like it. As soon as one enemy is vanquished, any self-respecting Orc will immediately start looking for the next fight, whether that be a new battle against a fresh enemy on another planet, or just the Orc standing next to him. Orcs are huge and strong. They are nearly impervious to pain and cannot be reasoned with. To oppose them in battle is to face near unstoppable crush of excited, screaming bodies trampling over each other to get to the fight. British football hooligans, but green ones. Okie doodles. We can do British football hooligans. So, how do Orcs work? Well, brutal and cunning, or cunning and brutal, depending which god you follow. An Orc is a huge slab of screaming green muscle, driven forward by an insatiable battle lust, and helped on their way by a lack of consideration for personal risk. Definitely a British football hooligan. However, Orcs are not just massive mindless brutes, they are far more threatening than that. The danger they pose is multiplied by their devious and cunning use of improvised technological devices and weaponry, their mastery of efficient violence, and their instinctive understanding of strategy and tactics. Even though they've not got a clue to know any of this, it's just the right way to do things. It's odd. You don't have your refined cultures. Yes, Orcs have cultures. It is no exaggeration to say that Orcs live for war. It is their main occupation and their delight. The drive to prepare for war and the need to fight are fundamental motivations that underpin all Orc society. In this culture, the biggest and toughest lead, and they almost always use their positions to take their followers to war. Even Orcish technology is predominantly military, guns and cannons being specifically overrepresented. So yeah, guns and dagger. And then we get the most scary thing about the Orcs, which is the power of the war. War is at once a battle cry and an energy and a phenomenon that drives the Orc ever more violent behaviour. Wherever Orcs go, a mysterious power drives them to mass in greater numbers and become more and more violent, ending in great campaigns involving huge numbers of Orcs on a colossal, destructive rampage. Whenever Orcs gather together, a mysterious power starts to rise. The more they become excited, the more the power builds, swelling up into a crescendo that, in turn, attracts more Orcs and provokes more excitement. This energy is known as war energy, and it lies at the heart of the Orcish way of being. Almost anything can provoke a build-up of war energy, which, as a squig-eating contest, such as a squig-eating contest, a fist fight, or a brawl between rival clans. Once the energy starts to build, it is almost unstoppable. Huge planet-spanning armies have been known to form around what was initially a small local surge in war power. Not only does the war attract orcs, but the energy can be funneled into their warlike pursuits, with gibbering orcs known as weird boys channeling head-bursting amounts of mysterious energy towards the enemy army. Some orcs speak of the ultimate aim of orc kind, a war so huge that it spans the entire galaxy from end to end. Which I believe is what Gazgul tried to do on Armageddon. So they have given us a small example of an orc war there. So we have a stomper in the back, the Death Head Bunker, I think it's called, Gorkanaut, a booster blaster, a burner bomber, we have Death Copters, we have Death Dreads, we have Killer Cans, we have boys led by a knob, we have Gazgul Thraka himself there, who obviously I have Lasgul for my version. We also have a Death Killer Wartrike for an extra leader, and a big mech with shock attack gun. So there's quite a lot there. Oh no, there's a big mech with shock attack gun, that's the teleport blaster. And then there's the looters. That is quite a small war actually. Really, there should be at least another 80 or 90 boys there. Now we've covered the orc section. It's technology in the 41st millennium. This should be fun. Let's try and read it backwards. No, let's not. Let's read it forwards. All species depend on technology to further their cause and survive the horrors of the era in Donatus, but all have taken different approaches to developing and deploying their transports, arms and armour that serve them in the war. This has led to a great variety of threats across the galaxy, with each army presenting a new challenge. You have 3 war trikes twisted. That will get you a speed war going quite quickly. In fact, very quickly. Death Killer Wartrike quickly. Of all the many different approaches to technology, not one has yet proved dominant or decisive. The Orc's technology may be improvised and ramshackle, but it is no less deadly for it. And the Orcs have shown that they can construct machines to accomplish many great things, even with limited resources. The Leagues of Votan take almost the opposite approach, relying on the meticulous manufacturing of powerful and advanced technology. Between and beyond these two doctrines, the diverse species of the galaxy bring a characteristic approach to their choice of arms. Some rely on well-tested knowledge that has been carefully passed down through thousands of generations. Others continually innovate, producing ever more lethal devices to threaten their foes. The one thing that all approaches have in common is their integration with formidable tactics to make their users a deadly force on the battlefield. Yeah, so everybody has world-killing tech. Small example is the Imperial technology that is given us down here at the bottom. Are you getting off, Lee? No worries, Lee. Thank you very much for dropping in, mate. And you have a good rest of your day. Down here at the bottom, yeah. Imperial technology. Imperial forces use their technology to mount deadly and effective campaigns, but many of its secrets are lost to the ages. Those who preserve and maintain the ancient arms and armour must strive to keep alive the secret knowledge of its construction and workings. Yeah, humans are not innovators anymore. We lost all our tech. And now we're slowly finding it back again. So 3 more examples of tech. At the top we have high xenotech. This being Necrons. Among the many extraordinary and eldritch species in the galaxy are those who possess technology so advanced that the younger species cannot begin to fathom its secrets. All they can do is cower from its might in wonder and terror. So going back to the Necrons, living metal, living weapons. We have low-tech Xenos, like the Orcs. Throughout the far-flung system of the galaxy are many species who go to war armed with primitive but deadly weapons, riding brutish beasts and relying on strength and aggression to overcome more advanced enemies in battle. This also counts the crew sections for the Tau, which is what they've actually got photos there. It's a crew talks for Rider. The third section is biotechnology. Some of the strangest species in the galaxy are inseparable from their technology and have evolved or been bred with symbiotic weapons and armor. These can range from giant claws to biological projectiles and deadly poisons. So, the one they give us here is a Tyranid Biovore. This essentially launches little brain mines that, if they don't hit you, float near you until they can blow up. It's great. I haven't got any, but I want some. Hounds of Honor Part 10 is there, front and back page for those who want to read it. And now it's going to give us an example of the battlefields. So in the far future, battles are fought across an infinite variety of strange and alien planets, where no land is left untouched by the tempest of war. Crystal moons, derelict space hulls, carnivorous death worlds, and war-ravaged cityscapes are just a few of the fantastical landscapes that can be recreated. Battlefields are typically created by placing battle zones next to each other. Battle zones are citadel terrain sets that include 2 boards, each approximately 22 inches by 30 inches in size, and a range of terrain features designed to be set up evenly on the boards for the best Warhammer 40,000 gaming experience. Don't worry if your battlefield doesn't match these requirements, but keep in mind that playing on a battlefield that is either a barren wasteland or filled to overflowing with terrain features may give an advantage to one side or the other. Below is an example of a battlefield set up for a strike force battle, with a good mixture of different terrain features fairly distributed across the battlefield. Their placement will create a dynamic gaming experience that doesn't favour one player over the other. Importantly, some terrain features that block visibility have been placed near the middle of the battlefield, ensuring that it is not easy to see from one side to the other. Battlefields where this is not the case can advantage armies that rely on shootings or disadvantage armies that rely on melee. There is also sufficient room for larger models such as vehicles to manoeuvre around the terrain feature, especially near the edges without getting trapped. So the example is they've basically built a wall and they've got a building at each end, one slightly larger than the other one, so you can hide things like dreadnoughts and horsebexes and smaller vehicles behind the larger building, and then obviously infantry can hide behind the walls and the standard size building. So match play focus. This strike force battlefield, which is 44 by 60 inches, so it's 4 boards, set up with an aspirational number of mixed terrain features. Their placement creates a battlefield that does not give an advantage to one player or the other, making it well suited for an aspirational match play game. While this battlefield uses a lot of battle zone frontier terrain features, you could also achieve the same game experience using many different kinds of terrain, bearing in mind the concept discussed above. So you don't have to buy all their expensive terrain like these. So there's the other half, so you can see there's the other half, so there's the other half of the building coming off for the extra long wall and another building there. So everybody gets somewhere to hide behind. Even the little stern guards sat down here, gonna get ripped apart. There's actually the full battlefield there. So you see Tyranids on this side, Space Marines up this section, and both have a building in their home deployment with a big wall across the middle, making it more difficult for you to shoot at them. Essentially, that's what it's there for. So yeah, one building in each deployment, and then one big snaking wall across the middle. Now, they do advise that you set up for your game. So if you're playing narratively, like they've set up for this one, this Strike Force battlefield is an ideal number of a mixture of terrain features. The largest pieces of area terrain have been set up along two battlefield edges, while the middle of the battlefield only has a scattering of obstacles to provide any kind of shelter from enemy fire. With this battlefield is not ideal for match play games, it would make for a very thematic setup for a narrative gameplay. So they've set that up pretty much to be an ambush scenario. So you're playing towards a theme on it. More match play tables will be laid out much more evenly. So each side doesn't have that advantage. Both sides will have height, both sides will have walls to hide behind, both sides will have line of sight breaks along the bottom floor. So it'll be quite difficult to draw long lines of sight across the board to enemies. You're going to have to move into positions, and it's not going to be as easy as just stand there and go pew pew pew. It never is that easy. Even if you've got a tower, it's never easy to just go pew pew pew, because you always bloody miss anyway. So again, a couple of match play focus where everything's quite evenly laid out. So no side has a particular advantage. Everything's pretty much the same both sides. Joe, how do you do? I hope you're doing well. We're working our way through this magazine now. It's going through terrain and how to set up for match play and how to do more thematic for narrative play. Match plays essentially make it all even. Nobody can have an advantage. Yeah, that doesn't work. Narrative plays, somebody can have the advantage, but it's got to be into the narrative. So the example they gave us on a page a minute ago was an ambush scenario, which is a bit better than the Mechanicus scenario they're giving us down there. So the ambush scenario where all the big buildings, essentially you're coming down a street and both sides you're going to get jumped from. Still anxious? Oh, what? Why are you anxious, man? No, why? I've forgotten. Because I've got a memory like a colander. I forget my own name sometimes. That's why people have to remind me. You don't have to say why you're anxious. I hope it's a good anxious, like you're waiting for something to arrive. Something fun at least. So now it's told us how to set up terrain. It's going to tell us what models come part of the Combat Patrol Chaos Space Marines Dark Zealots detachment. So at this point, you all should be able to field a Dark Apostle, which consists of 3 models: the Dark Apostle and his 2 Dark Disciples. Dark Apostle is equipped with a bolt pistol and a cursed Crozius. The 2 Dark Disciples have close combat weapons. They're there just to take wounds, essentially. Stop your Apostle from dying as quick. B is a Legionaries, 10 models, consisting of 1 Aspiring Champion with Plasma Pistol and a Cursed Weapon, 4 Legionaries with Bolt Gun, Bolt Pistol and Close Combat Weapon, 2 Legionaries equipped with Bolt Pistol and a Astartes Chainsword, 1 equipped with Bolt Pistol, a Astartes Chainsword and a Chaos Icon, 1 equipped with a Bolt Pistol, a Heavy Bolter and a Combat Weapon, and finally the last equipped with a Bolt Pistol and a Melter Gun and a Combat Weapon. Oh, that's not good, Joe. That is not good. That is... If it persists, you're going to have to seek medical help. But I'll try and bore you to sleep well I can. So, third unit you get to take are the Havocs. One with a plasma gun, which is the champion. Then you have a heavy bolter, a las cannon, missile launcher, and a Reaper chain cannon. So you have quite a bit of anti-infantry and some anti-vehicle. And your final model is your Hellbrute. Now your Hellbrute is supposed to be equipped with a plasma cannon and a Hellbrute hammer. Mine's equipped with a multi-melter and a fist because my hammer's up on Lascal. So that is what you would be able to field for a Chaos Space Marines combat patrol battle. Not a bad little force actually, because you've got a decent spread of anti-elite with some plasmas in there, your Reaper auto cannon, your heavy bolters. Not too bad at all. You've got some not bad melee punch in there with the Accursed Crozius and the Hellbrute having one heck of a big hammer, hitting at strength 14. Astartes chainsaws and close combat weapons kind of middle out to strength 4, 1 AP, 1 damage. I don't expect too much from them. But you can definitely put down some decent firepower. The melter gun and the last cannon and the missile launcher will help with anything bigger as well. Very nice. Very nice indeed. So there we have a nice picture of them with Dark Disciple there. The Legionaries taking up this large section around here. 5 Havocs back there. And the Hellbrute stood in the very back corner. So that moves us on to scenarios. Now we have 2, and they are both to be played out multiple times between all factions. First one being Scorched Earth. Now you have diagonal deployment zones from across the board, and nobody gets any objectives in their home field. So the mission rule: raise and ruin. At the start of each player's command phase, from the second battle round onwards, if there are 2 or more objective markers on the battlefield, the player whose turn it is can select one objective marker they control with the following restrictions. An objective marker cannot be selected if there are enemy units within 3 inches of it. The attacker can never select objective marker A, which is just outside the attacker's deployment zone, and the defender can never select B, which is just outside theirs. The selected objective marker is said to have been raised by that player and is removed from the battlefield. Oh, so these 4 objective markers and people are getting to take things off the table. Okay. Primary objective for raise and ruin. While key assets can be valuable to seize, destroying those crucial to your enemy is more important still. At the end of each player's command phase, the player whose turn it is scores victory points as follows. If you control 1 or more objective marker, you score 5. If that player controls more markers than their opponent, they score an additional 5. If that player raised an objective marker this turn, they score 10 victory points. So that says 20 victory points. I think you can only score a maximum of 15. In the 5th battle round, because obviously the player going second sometimes has a bit of a disadvantage, the player who has the first turn scores victory points as described above at the end of his turn as normal. Or at the end of each player's command phase, because he'll get one when the next player goes. When the player who has the second turn scores victory points as described above, but does so at the end of their turn instead of the end of their command phase, giving them a chance to move on to objectives and perform some of them, just to make sure it's a reasonably fairish fight. And again, they give you a Scorched Earth table so you can check off who's been attacker, who's been a defender, and who won each battle apart from against yourself. Unless you've bought 2 copies of this entire set, in which case you can play against just the same faction. Second, mission numero 2. This is a sweeping raid, so you're playing across the long edges, so deployment along the short edges. Grinding stalemate has paralysed the battle lines, but a decisive blow can lance through the enemy defences. Drive a spearhead through this area, clearing enemy objectives of resistance as you push forward, but do not allow the enemy to encircle us and cut off our supply lines. So the mission rule for this one, supply lines. Then we have a lot of objectives. No, we still have 4. We have 1 in each deployment zone. So A is 6 inches lower than the centre line. B is quite awkward to figure out, but it's way up here. C is mirror opposite, way down here, and D is 6 inches up from the centre line in the defender's deployment zone. So the mission rule: at the start of each player's command phase, if that player whose turn it is controls the objective marker in their deployment zone, they roll 1d6. On a 4+, they gain 1 CP. Awesome. Primary objectives. The objectives in this area are vital to our war effort, and securing them is highest priority. Spare nothing in ensuring that they do not all fall into enemy hands. In the 2nd, 3rd and 4th battle rounds, at the end of each player's command phase, that player whose turn it is scores 5 victory points for each objective marker they control, to a maximum of 15. At the end of the battle, the attacker scores 5 victory points if they control objective marker C, and 10 if they control objective marker D. So those are both on the defender's side. So if the attacker can hold this one, it's 5, and this one, it is 10. You're going to be reverse for the defender. If at the end of the battle you have B, it is going to be 5, and if you have A over in the attacker's deployment zone, you will score an additional 10. But that's at the end of the battle. And that's harder for whoever's going first. Because it's end of battle, not end of battle round. And again, we get a quick key and what's this called? I forgot what it's called. Draw a line to show which ones do which attacking defender and see who wins. I forgot. It's graph? Might be a graph. But there's the one for sweeping raid. And that is the final sheet. Half an hour. Half an hour? Something's going wrong here. So what we're going to get in the next issue and the issue after. So in next issue we get 10 Orc Boys. It is the new Orc Boys kit. For those who are wondering, is it the old one or is it the new one? It is the new one where you have to build so many shooters, so many sluggers and choppers. Somebody has to have a heavy weapon, and the knob doesn't come with a power claw option. Luckily I have some. After that, in Combat Patrol issue 44, we will get Administratum Grey, which is lucky because I've just used a load of mine, and we'll get Astro Granite, which is for basing. It's basically kind of concrete or tarmac, so it's not a thick over the top textured basing paint, but it's enough to give texture on there. So by the looks of it, we may be getting a tool of some description. Yeah, we're getting a texture spreader and Astro Minotaur Grey and Astro Granite. So that's going to be fun. I like the sound of that. I've not got a texture spreader. Well, not one of theirs anyway. I've got others. Oh, sorry, my throat was going a bit dry there. So that is issue 42 of Combat Patrol. We get a wash, we get a paint, and we get told a lot about orcs. I like orcs, I'm fine getting told about orcs. Although finishing all this up in just over half an hour does seem a little quick even for me. I know I've not played through the battle scenarios, but he wants you to play through with the Tyranids against the Space Marines, and the Tyranids against the Eldar, and the Tyranids against the Chaos, and then rinse and repeat for every single faction at the moment. That is a lot of little games. I do want to get Cavill done, but I need to pin him. I have base coded him, so Cavill Custode is in a method of almost ready to go and be painted. Also, while I was off camera, because anyone who saw on Monday knows I've just had delivery, and I've got my Angry Ron, or my Angron proxy, and I've primed and based this nice lovely creature, and I do have to say he does look a little bit special once you've got him brushed up to see his detail. Is just ridiculous the amount that is on there. Also, standing him side by side with Lasgo, they're about the same size-ish physically, and then you go and add the wings onto the back of Angry Ron, and well, he just ends up massive then, which means even with the wings, he's going to get dwarfed by Lavarus. I think every model apart from my Stomper that I ever get now is just, he's going to get compared to Lavarus, and he's going to be like, nah, it's not as big. It's not as big. I've yet to try him face to face with one of my Kaijus. So, not one of the Norns or the Carnifexes, see how that runs. But I'm thinking it's going to look pretty good. It's going to look pretty good. But I'm not painting him on Monday. I'm painting this lovely little lady, who is a Tzeentch. Well, I say Tzeentch, it's a 3-armed sorceress or 3-armed magic caster. I'm gonna say it's the Tzeentch one. I'm painting in those type of colours, so cyans, blues, turquoises, golds. Quite a nice selection, and obviously the Golden Protector Cavill will be golden. He will be gold. He'll be gold, 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 and more gold, and a bit more gold, and lots more gold, and then some Agrax, and then a gold highlight again. A lot of good job. I've got a lot of pots of Retributor armor. I might need about 3 to paint this model, but he does look really good. Once now I've got him primed up, I can see more of the detail on there. The cape's nice, the way it's so much on the shoulder pads and extra fluffing. And obviously his giant, I'm not sure if that's supposed to be it doesn't look like a bolter, because obviously they can't make it look like a bolter without breaking copyright. But it's definitely a ranged weapon built into an axe, which I do like the look of quite a lot. That axe is nice. So lots more fun things to look forward to on the channel coming up. Monday I'll be the usual 40k nights where I'm either painting up 40k models, building up 40k models, or making scenery. Thursday again will be the Magical World of Sparkles and Oak. I think I'm going to look at a few bases that I'm going to find where I've put them all, and see if I can get those on the ground level ready on bases so they can go into the diorama, and look at the watery section so I can base up Storm, Cyclone and Gris. Not a problem, Ali. Thank you very much for coming in. You're not late. You're exactly the time you're supposed to be here. Don't worry about it. So yeah, I need to redo the water section for the 3 water creatures, and then start basing up for the first ground layer creatures. Hopefully that won't take that long, which will mean I'll get to move on to Mr. Red Panda Shopkeep all tomorrow night, I hope. And then Monday it is going to be the Sorceress, and then Wednesday, as we know, we have Wednesday next week we have 10 art boys. But I don't think I'm going to be as good as my other art boys, but it's going to give me a kick up the backside to start transferring them to 32mm bases rather than the 25s. Yep, Ali is a wizard. Ali is a wizard, Joe. Never early, never late, always on time. So to say I'm disappointed with this issue would be a lie, because I do like that Coelia green shade and that pastel blue. I just wish I would have got a model or a brush or something else with it. Just up the value of the issue that little bit more, because a wash and a paint is not great value. You just spent what, $9.99 if you bought it here, $22 if you're over in Australia or New Zealand, $22 on, and it's just cost you. You've got a paint and a wash and a magazine showing you how to do a battle, which you could put together yourself. In fairness, any little bit of imagination and ka-ching, you have your own custom battle scenario. Like, who couldn't think of how to run an ambush? They're daft, they really are. So I think they definitely need to up the value of some of these. The next paint issue, when we get the texture paint and the texture paint applier thing, that's a little bit better because you are getting a tool with that. But even then, $22 for a tool, a grey paint and a grey texture paint. You don't feel like you're getting the best value from one. I mean, the full 10 arcs, fine. In my case, it's £1 an arc. In obviously the case of Australia and New Zealand, it's $2.20 for an arc, which isn't as bad. I just hope they make up for it and give us some single issue big units like they did with the Terminators and the Wraiths. That would be nice. That would be very nice. But my Cavill isn't ready, so I can't start painting him. And I want the other two to be on Mondays. Bugger. I've got some more off-screen work to do for setup. Namely the dry brush for Cavill, and then start pinning the bits that I need to pin, like his head, his feet, so I can actually pop him on things and paint it. That does help. But a nice 45 minutes roundup for a review of Combat Patrol issue 42. We got a fair bit of information, or an update on how to use the washes, and it's going to make a big difference on your Tyranids, especially if you follow that guide. Any of those white brainy areas, get them covered in, get them painted in with the green shade, and it'll make your Tyranids pop that extra little bit more. So it will make them look nice. But with that, thank you very much for joining me. Everybody drive safe and have a good day, and I will see you tomorrow.